Hello, hello, hello. Let's have a good old-fashioned coffee time. We covered the Hugh Edwards story in coffee time previously, but yesterday it resolved itself with the disgraced BBC newsman appearing at Westminster Magistrate Court and basically getting a get out of jail free card. Yeah, he got 6 months in prison, suspended for 2 years, as well as, I don't know, being told he's a very naughty boy. Don't do it again. And again, everyone's, a lot of people going, oh, it's evidence of a two-tier system. Yeah, and it's like, well, yes and no. Justice moves in waves of fashion. So at the moment, if you do a spicy tweet, again, it all depends if you break the law. I mean, there's spicy tweets like saying that men can't be women, and spicy tweets saying burn down your local whatever. Slightly different spicy tweets there. But the Hugh Edwards case is, as my title says, symptomatic of the rot that is infecting our society. For him and the guy that sent him or sold him the pictures, because that came out at the court hearing, were both, well, basically given free rein to carry on their lives. And it's a very curious case. Now with Hugh Edwards, he probably paid for very expensive legal representation, played the mental health card again. If you play that card, oh, it's me mental health what made me want to masturbate to those horrible pictures, my lad. Because I don't know about you, when I get a bit down, when I'm having a few issues, when I'm stressed, I really like to knock one out. What? Never understood that. But there you go. Mental health makes you horny. It's always no. Let's be honest. He's a dirty bastard. He is a dirty bastard. And what we tend to do is we tend to, what can we say? We hide the true nature of male sexuality, because male sexuality is disgusting and dirty and predatory. Not all of it. Some of it is. Some of it like this. And again, there are certain strands of heterosexual and homosexual sexuality that is highly predatory. You see it, and these guys usually end up committing all sorts of terrible crimes. But yeah, him and the guy that sold him the pictures both walked free. They did not get a custodial sentence, and we're seeing a lot of this now. Now again, anybody in their right minds knows that you should really have a zero tolerance to certain crimes, and I think these crimes, they shouldn't be normalised, because any man out there who is got the temptation to look at this filth are just going to think, well, I'm not going to go to prison. What's the worst going to happen? Lose me marriage, lose me job, lose me social circle. The risk is for them in the moment of horniness, I guess, is willing to take. Again, it's not a world I have any knowledge of or interest in. It's just frankly bizarre. So this just gives them one more step along the way of removing that fear. But you've also got to remember that, like people who harm animals, this is one step up the ladder to greater offending. So you start with the pictures, then you move on to coercing people, and then you meet, the person, the child, the teenager, whatever. It's a ladder up to further criminality, and that's why you should have a zero tolerance approach to it. Now, in his case, in Edward's case, I think he should have been fined, and I mean really fined, thousands of pounds. £100,000 fine, easy. £250,000 fine, because the money he used was taxpayer money to fund his jollies, because he was an employee of the BBC. which again makes the whole issue problematic. And his behaviour would have been noted by his colleagues and bosses at the BBC. This fellow used to text, back these men, the men he approached, these young fellows, whilst he's on air. Yeah, that came out in the trial. He was actually in communication with these people whilst he was doing his job. It was all part of the thrill, all part of the thrill. But the really interesting thing is that his phone was never found. So we never really know. We'll never really know the magnitude of his crime, because there will be multiple. There'll be other people coming forward. This isn't a one-off. This isn't an outlier. There will be more. And again, this is curious. When he first got fingered, again, it was the Sun, and everyone turned on the Sun. People like John Sopel, Owen Jones said, "Oh, the rotten Sun! They're going after a homosexual man here who has a difficult private life or something like that." Yeah, okay, but it was more to. There was more to the case than that. And all those people have gone a bit quiet now. Now that the guy that they was defending turned out to be a wrong 'un, a kiddie fiddler, as it were, or at least kiddie fiddler adjacent. And he spent between £1,000 and £1,500 buying the pictures from his fellow nonce. That's the fact of the matter. That is the fact of it. Now, the thing that gets me is in their first investigation, the police never seized his phone. First thing you do. Because the police initially said, "Oh, there was no crime to answer. There are no crimes here." They fudged the case because they should have immediately seized all these electronic items, because that's what happens. I've watched enough 24 hours in police custody to know the process. I'm almost like Sherlock Holmes, made real because of my experience of watching real life police documentaries. But they usually seize the electronic items. They didn't do that. And if they'd have done that, they would have seen his crime sooner. And again, he only got found out because this other fellow in Wales who sent him the pictures got caught, and they examined his phone and they found he was sending pictures to Edwards. So it was the arse about face way of solving the crime. The police, really? It's because they've got too many spicy tweets to investigate. They are being distracted by social media. So yeah, we'll never really know the extent of what Hugh Edwards was doing, and more will come out. Again, it's already come out that there was fingers pointed at him. I haven't said exactly what happened back in 2018 at the BBC, and he took time off because things were said. What things? They haven't released yet, but there will be more. He had a reputation at the BBC for being unpleasant. That's to put it mildly. And this is the leading face of BBC News, reported on the deaths of Philip and the Queen, among other things. And he was openly mocking that position of trust by what he was doing and taking all the money. Still hasn't paid back the 200 grand that they paid him whilst he was being investigated, and he even got a pay rise during that time. Incredibly murky. But yeah, he should be in prison. So should anyone who shares this material, because at the end of it, and this is what you have to spell out, it's not just pictures. There is a victim. There will be victims created in the creation of that kind of material. No matter what category those pictures are, there's always a victim, and it's always a child, and it's a child's life that's ruined, and nobody takes that into account. And this is what really bugs me about the sentencing here. And again, with anybody who gets caught with this material, is there are real people hurt at the end of this, and we're moving away from that, and it's almost becoming acceptable. This is what really bugs me. The internet and the pervasiveness of this kind of material and social media and whatever else, I'm going on a rant again, sorry, is enabled evil people to do evil things and to perpetuate an evil industry. It's an industry. Money changed hands. It's an industry. And there will be kids out there whose lives will be ruined. And we have a duty to them, all of us right-minded people have a duty to the children. And if you have kids, even if you don't have kids, if you have kids, we have, like I say, a duty to uphold their innocence and that no harm ever comes to them. And that's what, as a society, we should be fighting for. And we're not doing that. We're failing. And yesterday's sentence shows that we have failed as a society to protect the children. And those children will go on to be harmed. They will harm themselves. When they become adults, they will have problems. They may even slide into abuse themselves because they think it's normal, because they've been broken by evil men. And that's what it all comes down to. It all comes down to evil men fulfilling their own sexual gratification. And that's where we're at. And the internet allows that. And the BBC allows it. And we all allow it as a society. And there'll be people going, oh, two-tier system, bollocks. We can jail all people. Let's jail everyone. Let's build more prisons. Let's actually start dealing with low-level crime. If we deal with low-level crime, you know, the guy who doesn't pay his road tax is the guy that's probably dealing drugs, you know, or stealing or doing something else. If you deal with the low-level crimes, it filters upwards. And this is what we need to deal with here. And I think we need to, you know, revision the justice system. But we can't, because there's not enough places in prison, says Keir Starmer. You know, if that's true, the last thing you do is you tell everyone that. You don't tell people that. You certainly don't say we're going to release everyone. You do it quietly, so the criminals don't find it. Again, we're being led by idiots. Another group of idiots have come in, and New Edwards should have been fined a lot of money. He should have had all his electronic devices taken away from him. He should have been banned from using the internet and banned from having a smartphone for life. That should be it. And if they're caught doing this, prison. On the internet, prison. We should make their lives as difficult as possible. Right? So you hit them in the pocket. If you're not going to jail them, hit them in the pocket and you take their internet access away from them. And when they get caught, because they will get caught, then you bang them up. You know, so this is where we're at. And it sends out a signal to anyone who's a bit fucking weird that they can carry on being a bit fucking weird. Excuse my French. It makes me very, very angry. And for those of you going, oh, two-tier this. No, certain crimes go in and out of fashion. And that's what we're seeing at the moment. Social media, because we let the genie out of the bottle, and there's been a lot of crime committed on social media, a lot of defamation, you know, threats, all manner of things that have been let slide for the last 10 years. And now the fruits of that are becoming real because people are stupid and people are easily led. And social media is a cancer because it allows evil people to flourish and it allows the stupid people to be influenced by these grifters. And that's where we're at. So be very careful when you see somebody out there who is, you know, telling you how it is. Wait from when they start asking you for money. That usually comes in. And you can give to my Patreon at www.patreon.com/lock, or you can join my YouTube channel and give me your money. See what I did there? That's called comedy. That's called comedy, that is. Yeah, you're meant to laugh. You're meant to laugh at that bit. It's not very funny. But, well, this isn't funny. I thought the joke was funny because, you know, it made me laugh. I'm laughing inside. But yeah, this is where we're at, and this is why everything feels wrong at the moment, because everything is wrong. Because I do believe that the judge, the magistrate, didn't even go to the Crown Court. The magistrate who's sitting there, you know, either really believes that it was an aberration of his mental health that caused him to masturbate to those pictures and try and pick up young lads, you know, really. Or they're in on it. They're all in on it. and they see that this is acceptable. Again, it's class war. It is the upper classes, in Hugh Edwards' case, a bastion of the BBC, versus the working class. The first person that broke the story was, just a kid who had a drug habit. And again, if this guy had approached, I don't know, a family with a bit of money, a bit of cash, the outcome would have been different. But this is a class war thing where, men with money target the poor because they can be easily exploited, and that's the nature of exploitation, and that is the war we've been fighting all these years, ever since we invented money. I mean, as a species, not as you know what I mean. Power. It's all about power, isn't it? It's all about power at the end of the day. All of this is about power. And here we're at. So when you get a little bit uppity about the two-tier system, think about the people who are sending the stupid tweets. Now, what an idiot they are, and they need to be taught a fucking lesson. But let's also agree that Hugh Edwards should be in prison, and any person found with these kind of images should get a taste of the law. And okay, if we're not going to jail them, we should make their lives incredibly difficult and incredibly miserable. And I think, if Hugh Edwards is walking around, if we spit on him in the street, we shouldn't be done for assault. We should be patted on the back, because these people should be treated like the pariahs that they are. And but it won't be. You will see, again, give it enough time, it'll be the rehabilitation of Hugh Edwards. Look at the Philip Schofield story, somebody who used his influence to take advantage of a young boy. Again, if you swap it around and it had been a young woman he'd been chasing around and installing in his flat, it would have been a very different anger. But if you're of a certain sexuality now, it seems you can get away with this shit, and that's wrong. That's wrong, and it's not homophobic to bring that up. It's just there's no equality here in the way we look at these things. There's no equality here, because the young men this person targeted are still vulnerable. They're still vulnerable like a young girl would be vulnerable. And we've got to remember that we have to protect our children. It's as simple as that. It's so simple. How can you get it wrong? That's my thoughts on Hugh Edwards hanging by his bollocks. I think that'll sort him out. That'll straighten him out, if you know what I mean. I mean, in his mind, not his sexuality. If he wants to be that kind, if he wants to be a gay man, that's fine. Just don't target young lads, because that is wrong. Oh God, what's going on? Sorry, I'm having a bit of a technical issue. This new version of, it's called Sequoia. Ooh, seems to like bouncing windows all over the place. I think I fixed it now. Sorry, got a little bit distracted. Is anybody in the chat? Spectrum Kid's in. He says, I'm glad I stopped paying my licence years ago. Oz says, could the prosecution appeal the sentence? Probably not. I mean, if we all wrote in, if the public actually wrote in would it be the CPS and actually complained? This is the thing. People power may do something. If we all wrote in and complained, if we complained to our MPs even, but I very much doubt anything will fix this, because we're too far down the line. The precedent has been set, and you will see. You've got to ask yourself, again, with everything in this world, everything you see in this world is a choice, and people make these choices, and you have to ask yourself, why are these choices being made? Why do magistrates let these men go, where a few years back, 10 years ago, these men would have been jailed, right? They would have been sent down. And it seems there's a shift now, and because we're heading into this acceptability, and I do believe, and this is where you need your tinfoil hat, that you're going to see a shift towards this being more regarded as almost like a mental health issue, rather than it being the crime than it is. And so every person that gets caught for this kind of thing will be, oh well, this is mental health. And that's wrong. That's wrong, because firstly, it makes a mockery of those who do have genuine mental health issues, but it also allows people to hide. in plain sight. You know, we're doing all that. We're doing all that again. And so I don't know. I don't really see. I just see it getting worse. I think it's just all going to get worse because we live in this time now where we accept everything's acceptable. Remember, don't yuck on somebody's yum. That's what the kids say. And you've got to say, excuse me? Really? Because there's a lot of weird ideology out there, and it's driving this. You know, there's a lot of ideology, and it's in powerful places, and it's funded by powerful people. Again, this is where you need the tinfoil hat. But it's moving towards a very, very strange culture. Very strange. It's very, again, you just got to look around you and ask yourself, how have we got here? Why are we doing this? Why and how has the law changed to accommodate this? Where, like I say, 10 years ago, you'd been looking at a 5-year stretch, 3 to 5 years, and now we're not, So, yeah. But like I say, crimes do go in and out of fashion. Like you're going to see a big spike in like coercion because that's a new thing. So any man or woman who coerces a partner, will be sent down for it, and that'll move in and out of fashion. We see this, it's part of society. It's the way we deal with things. But this is a dangerous trend. This is something that's really concerning. The normalisation of paedophilia is really concerning, and they're going to say, well, therapy and all this and all that, but you can't change that because it's in him. It's who he is, and there needs to be new strategies adopted. If we're not going to jail them, we need to come up with new strategies. Richard says, could this be a soft touch sentence because he knows a lot more about his perverted life and career that he's had with the BBC? Does it go further like ladder? No, because they did the guy that sold him the photos got a similar sentence. You're seeing this now. It's just a soft sentence for a lot of these people, and I do think it's because, one, the prisons are full, and they see these people as not being a threat. Because the idea is he's not a threat because he's not going to go out there and kidnap a teenage boy. But that's not the crime. The crime is the picture, and the picture has a source, and that's where the harm is done. And if you're in that business of buying pictures, there will be somebody, along the chain that gets hurt for money. It is a thing. So I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that at all. I think it's a normalisation of the crime because they think that either that going to jail won't help them, or there's not enough room in jail, or therapy will cure them. And it's just a refocusing of what that crime is, and it's ridiculous, And again, in the oldie days, if you was a celebrity and you did something wrong, they made an example of you because it stopped other people from doing that crime, and this would have been a great chance to see, Edwards, being made an example of. But we don't have justice like that now. But if you're a no one, if you're nobody, right, they'll make an example of you. And it's a class thing. It's done on. I do believe it's done on class lines sometimes. So it's hiring the best lawyers and having the most money. You'll always do well if you've done well. Whereas if you've got nothing, you're going down because there's no one to speak to you. You haven't got John Sopel and Owen Jones to speak up for you. So. So there you go. That's the story of Hugh Edwards. May we never see or hear of him again. I do not want to hear of the rehabilitation of Hugh Edwards. I do not want to see him on the TV. I don't want to read a book about him. I don't want to, see him sell his story to whatever tabloid. I want him to go away and never come back. Because this guy, and there will be more coming out about him. There will be more. Is obviously somebody who has had issues for quite a while, and those chickens have come home to roost. Sorry, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't, sorry, I can't really help you. I just thought I'd talk about it because we have talked about it in the past, and I thought we'd talk about it again. So that's that. Okay then. There's only one more thing left to say, and that is, I guess it's drink it up. Drink it up.